I think that, from what I understood, from your talk, I think we're going a step further, which is in a sense the questioning about, there's a dimension of all this that looks very democratic, that is, very decentralized, very open, etc. But I think from what I understand you saying, particularly about standardization, about this kind of, a kind of standardization that is not even realized in a sense by many of the actors. We are, in fact, I think, decentralizing some forms of structuring of information production and information diffusion. So what I hear you say is that, in fact, we might have all those many sources, but in fact, it's the same news. And I feel that as a consumer of news all the time. Like when I go and look at the information from one newspaper, and then I move on, and I see exactly the same framing, the same way of presenting the news. And then obviously we go back to those guys, the guys you studied, which are those kind of one or two oligopolistic producers of not only the substance but the form, and both the form kind of shapes the substance and vice versa. And so I think that in fact you might have this illusion of democratization, but just the power has changed. So it's not the national state now saying you cannot read that or you cannot know that, but it's some other centers of calculation, as Latour and others call them, somewhere shaping the information that gets, retransmitted and recirculated across a multiplicity of nodes, and therefore appears to be a bit democratic. So I think, I'm reading this, what you said in that way, and I'm connecting it also, this is to the point with that Laurent made. Since a discussion with Laurent last week, I've been completely immersed into this transhumanist movement, because he mentioned that, and I've been looking into it. And obviously this is very connected. I don't know if you know about those guys. Completely crazy reinvention of, enlightenment dreams of progress, but here with the notion that we are going not only to replace men by robots, but transform men into robots, or kind of, blur the boundaries, extend ourselves through technology, enhance ourselves, and therefore with this vision that all this stuff is progress. That this is, absolutely clear that this is progress. So, it's really more a comment, I guess.
Yeah, but I have at least 3 comments to that, because I find it very interesting. Well, as to democracy, in my opinion, the present definition of representative democracy means that the media represent politicians to us, and they represent us to media, us to politicians. And of course, in the very rich meaning of representations, how they do it and what they do it, and sort of, what direct contact do you have really with your politicians? It's impossible because of the mass thing. So, and I don't think, you probably read Gaia Touchman and other analysts. It's not necessarily so, I think, that the journalists or the news producers are following sort of political interest, that they're corrupt or something. I think they are normally egoistic. They do what is good for them because they feel threatened, at least now. And also, and I don't think this is interesting because, as I probably told you already, the news agencies are doing very well, recruiting and doing all this, and the journalists don't. But what I think might happen is that journalists can save themselves by exactly interpreting. But now they don't do it because of the speed thing. So I was shocked. I would love to study Agence France-Presse, but I wouldn't dare to, the language would be not enough. But I was shocked to see how much of the news that you're reading in your newspapers comes directly from news agencies. You don't know it in English newspapers because they don't acknowledge it's Reuters. It's a big issue and thing. They're paying for it, but they don't put Reuters by side. But, like in Italy, what they still do, the major problems was, do we put the same title as the answer did, or do we change the last noun into the first noun? There were these dramatic differences they were doing. And the same in Sweden. And then, of course, now and then, I didn't study foreign news, okay? I was studying sort of economic news, internal news, and cultural news. So, now and then I would say, now we will show them, we will study something, we will focus on something that the news agencies didn't focus. Who cares? I mean, sort of they dictate what is supposed to be focused, so it really didn't pay. So it is a very sort of mechanical now transmission between the news agencies and the others, the journalists. And if journalists is to be saved, they will have to start doing something else. And then I have something, a third one, but I forgot.
The transhumanist stuff, did you look into this?
No, yes, no. Yeah. But what I remember is Hans Moravec said in 1984 that in 20 years we will be able to transfer our mind, as it were, or our brain into plastic bodies. Yeah. He said the same thing in 2004, using the same 20 years. So yes, sort of a... Well, the more serious, the guys from Polytechnic say that it's not likely that we'll ever transform, but you know,
but one of
they
the
still
is the
yes.
head of Google development. Huh?
Yes.
Google development, one of the key transhumanist guys, Kurzweil, is now running a big arm of Google.